All right, let's dive into something really interesting today. Um, we're looking at Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction,
Uh,
but through like this really interesting lens.
ooh.
Yeah, there's this Reddit thread that's blowing up,
Okay.
and it's all about how this book has like seriously impacted people's lives.
Interesting.
And it goes deep. Like some people are even saying it changed how they react emotionally.
Hmm.
So the question we're tackling today is, can a book like actually make you less angry and more empathetic?
I'm intrigued. What are people saying in this thread?
Well, the original poster is saying that like understanding these seduction techniques, from the book
Right.
actually gave them this whole new level of insight into people's motivations.
Sex.
Like it's like seeing beneath the surface of actions and to the underlying desires.
Yeah, like getting to the why behind the what.
Exactly. And they're not the only ones saying this, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, tons of people are chiming in with similar experiences. One even said this like the book gave them like a cheat sheet to human behavior.
A cheat sheet. That's an interesting way to put it because Green doesn't really present seduction as like a manipulative tactic.
Right.
He argues that to a certain extent, people want to be seduced.
Oh, interesting.
There's like an allure to surrendering to someone who really understands your desires and knows how to appeal to them.
Ooh, that's making me think of like those really charismatic leaders
Exactly.
or even captivating storytellers.
Yeah.
We're like drawn to them even if we know they're using techniques to hold our attention.
Oh, right. Think about the last time you were like totally engrossed in a movie or a book.
Oh, yeah.
You willingly suspended your disbelief.
Yeah.
Allowed yourself to be like swept away by the narrative. That's a form of seduction too, you know.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's everywhere.
Okay, so back to the Reddit thread, though. There's a whole section where psychology students are, like, joking about how their studies turned them into mind readers,
Ah, yes.
constantly analyzing everyone's motives.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's kind of funny, but
A
also...
little creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there is a grain of truth to that stereotype, you know?
That's for sure.
When you delve into psychology, you start to see patterns of behavior like everywhere. You
Right.
learn about, cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts people use,
Yeah.
and the subtle ways our unconscious desires actually influence our actions.
Okay, but is all that constant analysis helpful or just exhausting?
That's a good question.
One commenter said they literally had to learn to switch off, quote, analyst mode because it was making them too cynical.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, is that a risk?
It can be, definitely. Knowledge is powerful, right?
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword.
Mm,
If you're constantly looking for hidden agendas,
right.
you might miss out on genuine connections.
Ooh, that's deep.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between understanding those psychological forces at play and also allowing yourself to just experience those interactions organically.
Okay, so how do we strike that balance? Can we learn from a book like The Art of Seduction without becoming like master manipulators ourselves?
It all comes down to intent, right? Are you using this knowledge to, to build genuine connections?
Yeah.
To foster collaboration, create those win-win situations?
Oh.
Or are you using it to, like, control or exploit others for your own personal gain?
Right, yeah.
That's the ethical line,
The ethical line.
that we have to be very mindful of.
Yeah, you need a minute to process all this.
Take your time.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Our listeners are definitely going to want to hear more of your thoughts on this, I'm sure.
I'm happy to share. And you know what? They should definitely check out Shauna Pelage's YouTube channel for more of these deep dives.
Oh, yes. And while you're at it, subscribe to Voices of the Soul for more conversations like this one.
You won't regret it.
So, back to this Reddit thread.
Okay.
There are some really interesting examples of these, like, seduction tactics playing out in the real world,
Oh, yeah?
like in workplaces and stuff,
That's fascinating.
It's crazy to see how these strategies can be applied in everyday situations.
I bet.
We have so much more to unpack in this thread.
We do.
Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back to explore some more of those examples.
Sounds good. That example with the coworker and the new hires,
Yeah.
it really shows how Green's ideas, even though they're often set in, like, historical contexts,
Right.
can be surprisingly relevant to what's going on in workplaces today.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like he's giving everyone a playbook for, like, office politics or something.
Right.
But the question is, are these really, like, seduction in the way Green talks about it?
Yeah.
Or is this just straight up manipulation?
Well, that's where things get a bit nuanced, right?
Okay.
Green would say seduction at its core is all about understanding.
Yeah.
And then appealing to people's desires. And often this happens like subconsciously, you know?
Interesting.
It's about creating a sense of connection, making that other person feel special, seen.
I see. But couldn't that same understanding be used to like exploit weaknesses
Absolutely.
or insecurities?
Yeah, the line between seduction and manipulation, it can be blurry. It often comes down to, like, intent.
Okay.
Are you using what you know to empower someone, or are you trying to control them?
Right, yeah.
To help them win, or to get ahead at their expense?
Yeah, that's a good distinction.
It is, and that's why recognizing those patterns of behavior, like we were saying earlier,
Yeah.
that's key to knowing if it's, healthy or not.
It's like you need to have the knowledge to even see it happening. Right?
Exactly.
There's this other part in that Reddit thread that I found super interesting.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
Someone said that Green's books, they appeal to our desire
Yeah.
to feel like we're in the know.
Oh, I like that.
Like we've got the secret code to how people work.
Right. That secret knowledge. Yes.
It's a powerful thing, that's for sure.
It is. Humans are so curious.
We are.
And we're, like, drawn to information that makes us feel like we've got an edge, you know?
Totally. Like we have that deeper understanding of the world.
Exactly. Like all those life hacks out there, right?
Yeah.
They promise to make you super productive, successful.
Right. We just crave that sense of mastery.
Yeah.
That feeling of having an advantage.
Okay. But there's got to be a danger in getting too caught up in that whole secret knowledge thing, right?
Oh, there totally is.
Yeah.
It can make you feel superior, like you're above everyone else.
Yeah.
Because you have this special information.
Great. It's easy to forget we're all human.
Yeah.
We've all got our own, stuff going on.
Absolutely. Our own complexities, motivations.
And nobody has all the answers, right?
Exactly. Humility is key, especially when you're trying to learn about yourself and others.
Humility.
Yeah. The more you learn about behavior, the more you realize you don't know. That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, one person in the thread said that Green's work is too general to be really useful.
Oh, interesting.
Like it doesn't have concrete advice. It's more about like big concepts and historical stories.
I see. There's some truth to that, I think.
Okay.
Green's writing, it's more philosophical than practical, for sure.
Yeah.
He's not giving you step-by-step instructions on how to, manipulate someone.
Right.
It's more about getting you to think critically.
Okay.
About human nature, to see things through a different lens.
So less about techniques, more about understanding the bigger picture of how we interact.
Exactly. Recognizing the patterns, the motivations, the subtle ways we all influence each other, even in those everyday moments.
This makes me think about those examples from earlier, like the coworker and the boss.
Yeah.
Are those actually seduction, like Green means it, or something totally different?
It's a question, isn't it? In some ways, you could see them as seduction gone wrong. The focus has shifted away from genuine connection to taking advantage of someone for personal gain.
Like intent really matters.
It does. It's
in deciding if it's ethical or not.
For sure. And awareness is just as important.
Right.
The more we understand these dynamics, the better we can spot and resist manipulation.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm seeing things in a new way.
That's the power of exploring these ideas,
Yeah.
It challenges what we think we know.
Right.
And helps us understand ourselves and others better.
And speaking of understanding, I know you have a ton to share on this.
Well, if anyone wants to learn more, they should check out Shauna Palage's YouTube channel.
Oh, yes.
So insightful.
And of course, you all should subscribe to Voices of the Soul for more deep dives like this.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep exploring this thread.
Yeah, there's so much more.
So stay tuned. It's kind of wild, right? Like, we started with this Reddit thread about the art of seduction, and somehow we're having this deep conversation about, human nature, psychology, even ethics.
It's all connected.
It is.
Yeah.
It really shows you the power of Green's work.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with everything he says,
For sure.
He makes you think about things in a new way.
He really does.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is this whole idea that, like, we're all in this dance of seduction all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether we realize it or not,
Right, like a constant back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. We're sending out signals, trying to persuade, to influence.
In the smallest interactions.
Yeah. And it makes those examples we talked about with the toe worker and the boss even more, like, stark.
Right.
Like, they read the book and are using it to, like, grab power.
Yeah, and that's where the ethics come in, right?
Totally.
Just because you understand these techniques doesn't mean you should use them, especially not to hurt someone.
Definitely.
It's a fine line between seduction and manipulation.
Mm.
And you have to be aware of what you're doing, what your goals are.
It's also like kind of scary to think that just knowing about this stuff can make it easier to do the wrong thing.
Oh, absolutely. Knowledge can be a double-edged sword, as they say.
Right. It's like you could use it to help people or to hurt them.
Exactly. It depends on the person wielding that knowledge.
Which is why, like, being self-aware is so important.
It's crucial.
And having a strong sense of what's right and wrong.
Couldn't agree more.
So, like, where do we go from here? With all this, about seduction, persuasion, human behavior.
Right.
How do we actually use it in a good way?
Well, I think it starts with paying more attention to how we interact with people.
Okay.
To notice those subtle cues, the desires that aren't spoken out loud.
Right.
How we try to influence others and how they try to influence us.
And maybe being more careful about who we let influence us.
For sure. Not everyone's got your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
You got to protect yourself from people who might want to, take advantage.
Okay, but it's not all about being defensive.
Right.
No.
Not at all.
Like, we can use this to build better relationships too, right?
Absolutely. If you understand how connection works, you can communicate more effectively.
Yeah.
You can build rapport more easily, create stronger bonds.
So it's not about being manipulative, it's about understanding.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all human.
Right.
And using that knowledge to connect with each other in a real meaningful way.
I love that. So, after this deep dive, how are you feeling? What's sticking with you?
I think the biggest thing for me is remembering that we're all connected.
Yeah.
We're part of this web of influence,
Right. Like we're influencing each other all the time.
Exactly. And when you understand that, it can be really empowering.
Totally.
But it can also make you a more compassionate person.
That's such a good point. Well, we've covered so much today.
We have.
From seduction to empathy, manipulation to self-awareness.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And we hope it's gotten everyone listening, thinking about these things too.
Yeah, to reflect on their own experiences.
And if you're ready for more, don't forget to check out Shauna Pelage's YouTube channel.
Yes. So much great stuff over there.
And subscribe to Voices of the Soul for more deep dives like this.
We'll be back with more soon. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep learning, keep asking questions.
Yeah, and keep exploring.
And until next time, keep trying to understand yourself and the world around you a little bit better.